Hey everybody, welcome to day 49 of Confinement. And today it's Friday on the couch, so we're gonna have some movies to watch. Yeah, Doc is having a personal problem.
It's not a personal problem. The bear pulled my head off.
Well, that sure sounds personal to me. I have some Outback here. I decided that I would splurge because as of yesterday, I'm getting paid. I managed to navigate successfully the pitfalls and hassles of the Florida unemployment system, so I am getting a little bit of money in. And so I headed out to Outback. I had a coupon, so this is only half price. So not like I'm making a splurge on money I don't have. But I am getting something. Not, Amazon shopping spree money, but, something. Something is better than nothing, and anything coming in right now is going to help. So, what movies are going to watch today? Or what movie are we going to watch to review? So I got a couple of things that they ordered off of Amazon before. Bloodshot and Cats. And I wanted to see Bloodshot in the theaters. I really was planning on going to see it just before everything got shut down, and didn't get a chance. But I think we'll start with Cats because that's got such an infamous reputation. I really like to take a look and see what everybody's been talking about. So I'm gonna pop Cats in, and I'll let you know what we think when we're finished. Okay. I took a second to fix Doc's head so I could just kind of put my thoughts in perspective on the movie.
This is not better.
Oh, sorry, Doc. Before I get into my thoughts on the movie, let me tell you that I know the movie pretty well. I mean, I know the story well because I had the soundtrack to the musical for years and years. I've seen the musical on stage, so I have some previous knowledge going in and some previous expectation. So that does color me a little bit. I'll tell you a little bit about the plot, both from what I know and from what the movie kind of tells you. And the plot is the basic. It's super basic. It's an anthology show, very similar to Chorus Line, where you have individual performers who perform either about themselves or about somebody else. And through the telling of those individual songs, you learn about each of the characters. There's not a whole lot of action. There's not a whole lot of story. In the original stage production, the story is that you're learning about these cats who are all vying to become the chosen one that is going to rise to the Heaviside Layer. Now, the Heaviside Layer being the cat equivalent of heaven. We were told that that's a place where they get to have a new life. We don't know what that means, other than they get to have a new life. So, kind of heaven. And it's somewhere up in the air. And that's pretty much it. It's pretty much just each cat sings. You learn about each cat. Maybe you pick a favorite. And then at the end, one of them is chosen by the cat leader to rise up. So, what's different in the musical, or in the movie musical? In the movie, they've kind of altered a couple of the different cats. Like there's specifically Victoria. In the stage version, Victoria is simply a featured dancer cat. She's there. She's a beautiful white cat. She has a couple of featured dance moments where she just does a whole dance across the stage, usually while somebody is doing something else backstage. It's what's done in musical theater to get some time for the performers to go off, somebody else comes on, But in the movie, they've elevated her part and turned her kind of into the proxy for us as the audience. Because in a movie, you don't really want people singing directly to the camera and, Here, learn about me. So she is our proxy.
So anything that the filmmakers want us to know, they have Victoria ask it.
Heaviside layer. The cavity. How will they be chosen? Who was she? So you're hoping to be chosen? Why did you want another Jellicle line? Am I allowed?
The first thing you see in the movie is a car drive into this alley and a woman get out and she tosses a sack into the alley. Victoria emerges out of the sack. She is an abandoned cat. And the other cats come around and gather around her and basically befriend her and take her on this journey to learn about all these cats. And at the same time, we're supposed to be seeing through her eyes and learning as well as she is. And she's learning as well that they're all vying for this position to be elevated to the Heaviside layer. So there's that aspect with Victoria. And she's just learning and maybe becoming part of this Jellicle tribe. Another thing that gets changed or amplified is the role of Macavity. Macavity is one of the cats that is vying in the stage musical. We learned about him towards the end of the second act, and it's a nice, big, show-stopping kind of fun cabaret-y number, right? His role is expanded in this in such a way that he is the crime cat, and you're kind of given the impression that this cat has, you know, a whole big like criminal empire and is doing all kinds of naughty things. One of the lyrics in his song is that he is the Napoleon of crime, and that's if you're familiar with Sherlock Holmes, that's also what Moriarty is called in Sherlock Holmes, which is not surprising considering T.S. Eliot, the poetry and the literary connection between him and Arthur Conan Doyle. That's probably a good point for me to go off and tell you where the story comes from. Story comes from T.S. Eliot's Practical Book of Cats, and that's just a book of poetry that he said, you know, I'm going to write some cat poetry, I'm going to write some poetry about a cat, and he was very clever about it, actually, writing the things that he observed cats do. And scholars say sometimes he was writing about his friends. Macavity. Macavity is turned into the villain of this particular movie, which is not a role he had prior. He is a jealous, envious, and Machiavellian cat. He is looking for a way to elevate himself by removing the other competitors. So every time he gets near one of these other potentials, he is kidnapping them and holding them prisoner, with the idea that if no one else is available to be raised to the Heaviside layer, then the leader of the tribe will have to choose him. He's the villain of the piece, and every time he comes on stage, people, oh no, scary, oh no, scary, oh no, scary. And that he's played by Idris Elba, which he does a really good job with it, because if you have to choose scary or tough or whatever, you know, Idris Elba's got that, he's got the look, he can do it, he can really pull it off. So, I mean, I enjoyed the story. I did not dislike what they did with the story. I did not dislike that at all. I found that very compelling. I found the stuff that they did was really very much brought me into the story, and I didn't have to think about it too hard. They helped to explain some of the stuff that I know that people for years have had issues with. It's funny. I had a theater history teacher in college, and one of his favorite lines, he would say, "If you like cats, then you're wrong, and you're an idiot." Now, of course, he was coming at it from a very much of an instructor's point of view. There's not a lot of story to it. There's not a lot of anything to it. It's just mindless fun, really. In the movie, they kind of give it a little bit more dramatic structure, which I think he would appreciate. Now let's move on to the things that I felt that they did not do a good job with. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the computer animation. People have talked about this since the first preview of this movie came out, kind of in the opposite version of what happened to Sonic the Hedgehog movie. When Sonic the Hedgehog's trailer came out, the producers saw that people hated it and said, well, change everything. With this, the producers held tight, said, no, we're going to stay with our release date, we're not moving anything, you just suffer with it. And they did suffer with it. That was their burden to bear, was how much money the movie ended up losing because they did not listen to what the audience was saying. And the biggest problem is the Uncanny Valley. It's not that the cats look like humans or humans look like cats, because they've been doing that on stage for years. But it's the way in which they did it. On stage, they wear costumes and makeup. They still look like people dressed as cats. So you can kind of put it away. You can kind of, okay, that's what we're doing. This, they use the computer to animate the fur onto them, to animate their faces into cats, to change a lot of the aspects and the ratios of how their bodies work. And because of that, you get something known as the Uncanny Valley. And if you're not familiar with the Uncanny Valley is a term used in filmmaking or art that when you create something that's supposed to look like a person, people look at it and can see that it's not quite right. I mean, they look at it, they say, okay, well, it's got a nose, and it's got a chin, it's got eyes, it's got the right skin tone, and the right, but there's something not right, whether it be because the symmetry is slightly off, or whether it be because the coloring is slightly off, or the movement is slightly off. Look at, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger's movie Terminator. There's a scene where he's as the Terminator, and he's doing some repairs on his head, and because he's doing some severe stuff, they're using a model, and it's got real person hands with this mannequin type model head, and it moves, and it looks like it's a puppet, so it's moving and it's animatronic, but it just doesn't look right. Or even the animatronic characters at the Hall of Presidents at Disney. You look at them and they're amazing. They work. They look just like the presidents, and then they start talking, and you're like, "Oh, there's something wrong there. What is wrong? Why does that not look like a person? Ooh, that's creepy." And that's what the Uncanny Valley is. That's that moment in your brain where you're like, "Oh, that's creepy." And this has a lot of that. You can't forget it. You can't not see it, because the computer animation is so ubiquitous. It's everywhere in the movie, and there are so many points where you can see where their faces have been added on and digitally remastered and digitally changed. That and I don't know that they could have done it better. I don't know if it's because of the time management issue, or because I know they were running up against time to try and get it out by Christmas. And I don't know if that was an issue or not. I know there was some issues with that, but I don't know if that is the reason why. I don't know if they could have made this better. But I do know the only thing that was benefited by them using the computer animation was the ears, because they were incredibly expressive, and I really felt like they did a good job with, their ears being able to do this thing. I don't think that they needed to do their entire bodies. I think they could have got away with just using costumes and makeup. The ears and tails, the tails were slightly disconcerting. They kind of, a lot of the times in the choreography, they were, I don't know. It just, there was something about the tails that didn't work for me. But the ears really did. I really enjoyed the ears, and I thought that was good. So I could appreciate that in using the computer animation to create the ears, but I don't appreciate it for the rest, because it didn't add anything. I didn't think that their cat faces looked better than the makeup cat faces for the stage version. Moving along, another bit that was a real big problem, and these issues that I have mostly are with the directing and the producing, not anything else. The performances were fine. The scripting was fine. Well, most of the performances were fine. The director and the producers had this idea that they were going to really elevate this because they could. I don't even know what their thoughts were, but because they could really turn it up and notch it up a whole level, because they had these millions and millions of dollars to spend, and were doing it on film and can use special effects, they decided they could, and they would. And I don't think it benefited. So moving on to the next thing that was a problem was the dancing. The choreography was beautiful. A lot of really good choreography, a lot of well thought out movements. They also were using wire work, and the wire work it just didn't work. It didn't look right. It was like mixing Fosse with the Shaolin Temple. The floating through the air stuff, because they wanted to show cats jumping and being able to leap tall distances. It didn't fly right with the choreography, because the choreography was very much, dirty and, very slinky. And then all of a sudden you have these big moments where you're flying across the screen. It didn't work. It did not work. I didn't like it. And I felt like that really, really pulled from the beauty of the choreography. These moments where they're just trying to be too big for no reason. So there were some musical decisions that were made as well that kind of blew my mind. I didn't really understand where they were kind of coming from. One of the songs, they used the exact same lyrics, but changed the entire melody, and that did not make sense to me at all. I don't even know why they did that. And it wasn't changed for the better. It wasn't even updated. It wasn't turned into like a rap song or something like that, which I guess I could have understood a little better. But I'm listening to this song on the movie. I'm going, I don't remember this song. I do remember these lyrics. I actually had to look it up on my cast album to find out, what does this song supposed to sound like? Because maybe this guy just sucks at singing it. No, he doesn't suck at singing it. He's singing fine. It's just totally not the right melody. So for some reason, they decided to change the entire melody to the Mungo Jerry and Rumpel's teaser song. I don't know why.
Mungo Jerry
And Rumple Teaser.
we're a notorious couple of cats. We're a notorious couple of cats.
As knockabout clowns, quick change comedians.
Let's knock about clowns.
Quick change comedians.
Tightrope walkers and acrobats. Tightrope walkers.
And acrobats.
Ghosts, the new song that's sung by Victoria that they put in for this production specifically, very, very pretty. Does not suffer from the same problem as Jasmine's new song from the Aladdin musical that they just made. That particular song in Aladdin did not fit with the rest of the music. For whatever reason, it didn't sound like it. It didn't sound like the rest of the songs. Didn't sound like it fit in that production. This one, it feels like it fits. It's got the same kind of tone and sensibilities to it, and doesn't seem like a rock song in an opera. So I liked it. I do appreciate that new song. There was one other song. One of my favorite songs in the original production is Mr. Mistopheles. They changed the characterization of the cat. In the stage musical, he's a very confident, very outgoing, very boisterous cat. In the movie, they've turned him kind of into a bungling, neurotic, and timid cat. The song suffers for it, because the song is written in such a way that really kind of is powerful and strong, and with him being so uncertain, it just doesn't track as well. And that's choices. That's neither here nor there really. It's just a matter of me personally not liking it. So let's move on to the cast. You have two knights. Well, you have a knight and a lady. So you have Dame Judi Dench and you have Sir Ian McKellen as our two resident Amazeballs performers, right? Something I didn't know that's actually in the extras that Judi Dench talks about is that she was the original Grisabella, the one who sings Memory, in the London production of Cats in 1981. But she ruptured her Achilles tendon a week before the show opened, and her understudy had to go on. And now she's getting another chance with Cats now. Which is sad when you think about what she sounds like now, because if she could sing Memory the way that song needs to be sung, and what she's doing now in this...
You'll dance with these beautiful ghosts.
I mean, granted, it's 40 years ago, but wow, I would hope that you'd keep your voice up a little bit better than that. Ian McKellen, on the other hand, he also doesn't have a great singing voice, but his speaking through his lines is much more compelling. much more of a dramatic creation, and I really appreciate that. Idris Elba, he is gratefully he doesn't sing a whole lot. The majority of his song is sung by Taylor Swift, who is like his, if he's a gangster, she's the gangster's mall. Pretty good for him because he really doesn't have that great of a singing voice. Which you could probably tell just by listening to his speaking voice. He doesn't sound like he'd have a very good singing voice.
When the crime's discovered, then
The cavity's not there.
Victoria, who is played by Francesca Hayward, who is the brand new actress. She is a prima ballerina for the London Ballet. This is her first acting role on screen. She actually has a really beautiful voice. Her rendition of Ghosts is quite beautiful. I think I might prefer it to Taylor Swift's version, which is sung in the credits. James Corden and Rebel Wilson, who may be the people that you know most from this movie as their relatively household names. They are... Rebel Wilson, her entire segment is just such garbage comedy. It is just the lowest common denominator stuff. Yeah, I don't even... I mean, the Three Stooges is more sophisticated. I'm just gonna go there. And James Corden is just a series of fat jokes. It's the entire song is just fat jokes. I'm a fat cat. Look how much I want to eat. Look how much I'm eating. Look, I'm eating more. I'm eating more. I go to the garbage cans to eat more food. Look at all the food. It's just... and they're charming songs. They should be so much more charming. There is a moment in Rebel's song with the Jenny Anydots, which is kind of charming, that she's a house cat. She is so bored and so uninterested in chasing mice that instead of chasing them, she's trained them. So all of her mice do sing-alongs, and they sing with her and do her backup singing and dancing. And also the cockroaches in the house. She's also trained them. Now the problem with that, though, is, again, with our visual effects department. Now, one thing that they did amazing in this movie was the sets. These sets are superb. You would think that they were computer animated. They are not computer animated. This is live sets. They made everything 3 times as large as what the actors are. So you have a chair that's 3 times the size of a normal chair that the actors can climb up on, so that they look like they're cat-sized. Everything in the entire movie is that size. The giant trash cans, giant curb. The curbside, instead of being 9 inches, is like 2 feet tall, so that they look like they're cats getting up on the curb. This is great. That perspective really kind of lends itself to you losing yourself in the idea that they're cats. What we have a problem with is you're introduced to these mice that Jenny Anydots has trained, right? And they're this big in comparison to her. The mice are the size they would be if she was a human. Are you tracking what my problem is here? If she's a cat, then the mice should be like this. You know, cats are bigger than mice, but they're not that much bigger than mice. They're not like us. So she opens up this cabinet that's supposed to have all the mice in it, and they're these tiny little teeny things. And the cockroaches are even more teeny. I don't. Bad visual effects department. That's an oversight. Somebody should have said something. This is taking place in London, so you're going to have Taylor Swift singing with an accent. You got Jason Derulo singing and speaking with an accent. He only has a couple of lines, so it's not really that big of a deal. But I don't hold out a lot of hope for this movie. I think the stage production is infinitely better. I wouldn't mind them incorporating some of the elements into the stage production. I wouldn't mind them incorporating the song Ghost into it. I wouldn't mind them incorporating in Victoria's role as a abandoned cat. I wouldn't even mind them incorporating in McCavity as the villain trying to off all of his competition. I do think that they missed the mark on a lot of the emotional moments, and they really pulled people out of what has some really, really intense character work and character study in it. Memory alone, the entire Grisabella arc, Grisabella being the character played by Jennifer Hudson, who, as usual, is quite good. She is a cat who has fallen from grace, and kind of, you know, a very, very thinly veiled analog for homelessness. That she is this discarded and forgotten cat that even the other Jellicle cats don't pay attention to and kind of want nothing to do with and push aside, and she's just, you know, living on her memories at this point. She's not pretty anymore. She's had too many fights, and she's been beaten down too much in life, and that's the whole point of singing the memory song, is that she has all of this. And that's the interplay between memory and ghost, because memory is talking about all these memories that she's had that not just good but also come with bad, and the baggage and the pain that brings. And ghosts is, at least you have those ghosts. I'm abandoned. I have nothing. I have no history. I have no memories. I'm not going to make these beautiful memories with a beautiful family and a beautiful, you know, relationships. I'm nobody already. At least you were somebody, and now you have to accept what you are now. So it's an interesting dichotomy that they've played off each other. And in the end, you have, you know, Grisabella, who is chosen to go to the Heaviside lair, and Victoria, who is brought into the Jellicle tribe. So now she has a family. Now she has this, and Grisabella goes off into space, I guess. I don't know. Don't put your cats in a helium balloon. It's not a good idea. It would not turn out as well as it does in the movie. It's not. Don't do it. All right, so I guess it's time to rate it. I give this movie 1 and 1. Guys, what do you think? Teddy agrees with me, and I think Doc's just having a bad day. But I understand. Anyway, that's day 49 of Confinement. I say if you're curious about this movie, check it out. Music's good. Yeah, I can say that. The music's good. Remember, please like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you tomorrow.
Can Haz Cats.